I have to sign out right quickly.
All right, folks. So hopefully you can see us and hear us. Hopefully, but good evening, WNBA and women's basketball fans. Coming back at you, folks. Well, at a new start time here at 9 o'clock Pacific on midnight on the East Coast. But good evening, folks, and welcome into the WNBA 365 Network, your 24/7, 365 comprehensive home for everything revolving around the WNBA and the rest of the women's basketball universe as we officially begin the 20th season of the WNBA with free agency open for business. And teams have already begun wheeling and dealing. Getting folks alongside the starting five, like normal, joined this evening by Eric Nemchok, Crystal Thomas, Tanisha Stewart, and Reagan Patrick, all alongside Cal McClure, joining you folks here from Studio 171 in San Diego. Guys, good evening. Glad to get the first day of the season underway, officially, you can say, with free agency opening up. Other than that, how's it been going, though?
It is going good. It is going very good.
Yes, everything is going all right. Hopefully I won't freeze to death tonight because SoCal has been hella windy. But other than that, we have a lot of action-packed news ready for tonight, so I'm ready to go.
I already froze, so I got it out of the
way.
And I'm barely hanging on, so...
We're all battling for survival, folks. And again, folks, please interact with us on Twitter again tonight. We'll take, of course, Twitter interaction, of course, throughout the entire portion of the program, by hitting any of us up on Twitter. Again, at WNBA365, at Calimac3, at _rap, RAP24, at ShortyMamba24, at Pup1010, and at Nemchocky on Twitter this evening, folks. That also brings me to a pretty important point I want to make up as well. We will be launching our social media expansion to Instagram and Facebook sometime this week. We will let you folks know. We'll let you folks know when we do, in fact, do that sometime very soon. With that, though, guys, of course, today began the opening day of free agency. Before we can get to any of that, major changes on the way for the WNBA's 2016 and 20th historic season, which includes changes across the playoff structure and also the regular season schedule, starting with the new schedule, which is now going to be a new, more balanced format. The teams in the WNBA will face their 5 in-conference opponents in the following manner, do as follows: 4 games against one team, splitting 2 home and 2 away games, 3 games apiece against the other 4 remaining teams, 2 home and 1 away versus 2 teams, while having 1 home and 2 away games versus the other 2 respective teams. And each team's opponent breakdown was and will be selected by random and will be rotated annually to ensure a fair balance of the schedule. The games against the other 6 teams in the opposing conference will go as follows: 3 games against each team, 2 home, 1 away versus 3 teams, and 1 home, 2 away versus the remaining 3 teams. And the opponents for the 2 formats have been selected at random and will be reversed annually. Amongst other changes, folks, is a brand new WNBA playoff structure beginning this year, which also will increase the playoff rounds from 3 to 4 rounds. The top seed receive a bye to the 3rd round of the tournament, and the 3rd and 4th seeds receive a bye to round 2. Much like the NFL playoff system, teams will be reseeded after each postseason round. The 1st and 2nd rounds go as follows: as a single elimination play-in game. In round 1, number 5 will host number 8, and number 6 will host 7. In round 2, number 3 will host the lowest seed remaining from the 1st round, and the number 4 seed will host the 1st round winner. Semifinals will be now a 3 out of 5 format, with the number 1 seed playing the lowest remaining seed amongst the number 2, and the number 2 seed will meet the remaining team. Number 1 and number 2 seeds will host games 1, 2, and 5. Lower seeded teams will host games 3 and 4 in respective series, and the WNBA Finals will remain a 3 out of 5 format following the same 2-2-1 format. Reagan, starting with you tonight on this one. So obviously, we all said here, though, it's a breath of fresh air for such a historic season for the WNBA. Again, brand new format, a now even and fair balanced 34-game schedule, plus a 4-round playoff now, and also in regards to single elimination, NCAA March Madness type single elimination games now to add more drama to the postseason. Reagan, thoughts about the new format for not just this year but for the future for the WNBA? Your thoughts and why?
Honestly, I am so confused on these rules. Like, I've sat down and I've read them over and over again. I understand that the top 8 teams, no matter the conference, go into the playoffs. I do like that rule. I do think that rule is fair. But for the other rules, I don't know what to say about them. I'll have to see them, like see it actually work out in order to figure out like what it's about.
Tanisha, I think for the most part, the schedule works. It's going to do wonders. I think. The fact that you will see Indiana come to Los Angeles twice, the Liberty come to Staples Center twice. You see a mixture now of teams, coming into Staples. And I think it's kind of a breath of fresh air that you see, or that you will see. The other teams outside of your conference more times than just the 1-1 home, how it used to be, the unbalanced schedule. So, Shorty, obviously the schedule is one thing. The playoff format right now will take, a week or so to kind of get adapted to the format again. Much like the NFL postseason, you're reseeded after every series that there is, much like that. But, Shorty, your take, though, about the restructured season for the WNBA going forward.
I mean, most definitely. As far as the regular season schedule, I do like it because, it is going to provide more balance for the schedules. And again, I like it because under the old format, I mean, it was just unbalanced. Uh, Under the former format, each team had to play one team in conference 5 times, and that was a bit, repetitive. Because if I could recall, last season in the LA Sparks schedule, they had to play the San Antonio Stars 5 times, and then the year previous, the Storm 5 times. So that was, a bit too much. Like I said, then it'll bring balance to the schedule. We'll get to see more cross-conference matches. We'll definitely get to see the East more. The East will get to see the West more. And as for the playoff schedule, I mean, like Reagan said, it is going to take some time to get used to. Just off the top of my head, just one thing I don't like about the playoffs is the single game elimination round. Uh, the playoffs is already short enough, and then you add a single game elimination round to it. But other than that, I do like the playoff format. It's going to take some time to get used to, but I like it, and I definitely love the new regular season format schedule.
Crystal, let's strictly stay with the schedule here. We'll get everyone's take about the playoff format momentarily. But again, Crystal, bringing balance to the WNBA again, like Shorty said, playing one team in your conference 5 times a season. I want to say, and I may be wrong, but I think 2013, LA played Phoenix 5 times. 2014, as Shorty said, was Seattle. 2015 was San Antonio. Who knows who it could have been in 2016? It probably would have been Dallas for our luck. Probably would have been that if they didn't go to this format. But again, Crystal, more demand, though, on travel, of course. But again, though, fresh air. This is, we finally have some Febreze up in studio finally for a fresh season. So we got, again, cross, interconference rivalry games, cross-country rivalry games now, or just, with the format now. So, of course, Crystal, your thoughts, again, about the brand new season format, at least for the WNBA.
Like Shorty said, I mean, I was just tired of having LA play Seattle so many times. I mean, unfortunately, they still play them the first game of the season, but but I think because of the way the format is, it'll be a little bit different this time. And I agree with both Reagan and Shorty. The playoff format, we're gonna have to get used to it. But I do like how there is kind of like that one elimination for the first 2 rounds. That means you really, really, really have to work hard for it. And there's more competition. And I think that's going to make up for a lot of good playoff games, but it kind of scares me as a Sparks fan because I know how much we struggle in the first round. So, but I think it's going to be really fun to watch a lot of competition.
Eric, again, as we've said plenty of times, of course, breath of fresh air, again, so there's going to be more the non-conference games, of course, going forward, and I'd love to see the American Hockey League, one of the leagues I work for, kind of go that way sometime soon. It's kind of getting redundant, playing Ontario and Bakersfield and Stockton and San Jose. Every other game would turn around, and now that we have this going on in the WNBA where you're going to be able to play more and more different, you can play more teams more often than just, the traditional 1-1 home-and-home series, basically. So, Eric, your take, though, about the brand new balance to the schedule for the WNBA for 2016 and beyond.
Well, I know that you said you want us to talk about the regular season schedule changes first only, but I think the playoff schedule changes have something to do with this because when they eliminated the conference seeding from the playoff picture, because now it's just 1 through 8. Now it's just the top 8 teams, and that's it, regardless of conference. Then I think with the conferences eliminated from the playoff scheduling, you have to kind of get more. It kind of forced them to make more changes for the regular season schedule by involving more cross-conference play. And yeah, I mean, I echo the thoughts of everyone else on the panel. It'll be nice to see some different opponents more often. I know there are rivalry games, but 5 games against the same opponent in the regular season with more chances to see them in the playoffs it's a bit much.
Yeah, a bit much on the old format again, where you would have had to play someone this year 5 times again to kind of even things out. But again, folks, brand new balanced WNBA schedule again, which will require much more cross-country traveling, but also will you'll be able to see a certain team. So in LA's case, you'll see the Liberty come to Staples Center twice this season, along with Indiana coming to Staples Center twice this season, while LA will go to Chicago to play 2 games this year over at Allstate Arena as well. And I should point out as well, guys, as well, we've already had 1 game already moved from a current arena due to a scheduling conflict already. Atlanta will play Dallas, I believe, on July 22nd from Georgia Tech University due to a booking conflict at Phillips Arena. And Reagan, as Eric brought, though, with the new playoff format, of course, guys, no more top 4 in each conference now. 8 teams, regardless of conference, based on win percentage, will qualify now for the WNBA postseason. Again, as we also said as well, guys, the single elimination format for rounds 1 and 2, kind of packing in more of the, either the Major League Baseball wild card play-in game or even a play-in game for the NCAA tournament as well going forward in the once March hits. So Reagan, I guess, now that we have top 8, so this is going to be, something different to see. But of course, there's a lot of mumbo jumbo here. Of course, you get reseeded following 1 game, you get reseeded again. So there's a lot going on there. In your mind, though, obviously it's going to take time. But what are your thoughts, though, again, about the new playoff format now for the WNBA going forward?
Okay, I know earlier I said I sort of like the top 8 teams from the league, but at the same time, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like every year one one conference outdoes the other conference. Like one year the East is a tough conference, next year the West is a tough conference. So I don't really know how I'm gonna like seeing this. I sort of like seeing the competition from both conferences, but like you said, it's gonna take some getting used to. And as far as the changes to like the seeding and stuff like that, I feel like they're trying to do too much too fast. I feel like they're gonna get caught up and something's gonna go wrong and the fans are gonna hate it. But let's not speak that into existence. So
Yeah, so obviously, Shorty, the old saying, don't judge the book by its cover, can probably be implemented here in this case. Again, we've not seen this format yet in the WNBA when it was, just, the top 2, the top 2 teams back in the 90s, whoever won the conference championship outright in the regular season qualified for the WNBA finals, which was a 1-game playoff back then. And then, of course, you go on from 1 to 2 teams to 4 to 8, and now that we have, pretty much, crossed out and, cut out the conference seating now, and as Reagan said, 1 year the West is good, 1 year the East is good, and again, we can't really judge that now. But of course, Shorty, based on win percentage now, which is going to be really important, it's not really more so about regular overall record, but your win percentage is going to play value. And I believe that I tweeted out as well when this came out that I think that the top 8 teams, Shorty, did not include LA in the top 8 mix on win percentage. I believe Atlanta, who had a worse year than LA, qualified via win percentage. So again, that's going to be a pretty big talking point, as well as, why does the win percentage, carry much more weight than your overall W's and L's on the, in the columns. But Shorty, your take though about the new format as well, because I believe though Reagan is probably understanding though that the league might get burnt though year 1 with this new format. But again, we don't want to speculate. But your thoughts though and why?
Well, I definitely do agree on that part because overall you can't please everyone, so someone is bound to get upset at the new regular season schedule format where teams get in based by winning percentage, and some people might feel slighted that their team gets left out because of that. But overall, I mean, I do like the overall new format. I think it will make teams, especially like top tier teams, I think it will make them work even harder because conferences have been eliminated. So no one is pretty much guaranteed anything. The top teams in each conference aren't guaranteed anything, so they're going to have to work even harder based on those percentages to officially get in the playoffs this year.
Crystal, you and I kind of, talked about this on Saturday night when I gotten back home from working a couple events on Saturday when I was busy doing college basketball. Was, that the NBA this year got rid of the divisional winners automatically qualifying for the postseason, which was the top 4 teams that had qualified had won the division championship, and then the bottom 4 would be the remaining teams with the better records. But now, with them not having divisions, division winners qualifying, now there's no conference. Conference weight doesn't carry a lot of weight for the WNBA now. So of course, Crystal, so right now we're kind of so far we got 2 people kind of on the fence about this. Where are you at and why on this issue?
Of getting rid of the divisions. Is that what it was? Is that what you were asking? Well, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear because somebody's watching like the Food Network or something in the back. But I think getting rid of the divisions is going to make it very competitive. I think, like Shorty said, it's going to make these teams work harder, and also like Shorty said, a lot of teams aren't gonna, a lot of people are gonna be upset about their teams not making it. But honestly, it's up to these teams to play harder and work harder. Now they can't just depend on them being 1 through 4. Like if they want to make the playoffs, they have to work extra hard and compete against these teams that are on the up and up. So I think it's pretty cool. You're going to see a lot more competitive basketball in the regular season. I can tell you that for sure. Like, we're going to see probably some of the best basketball we've seen in a while. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. But I like it. I mean, it's about time they did something. I mean, again, I could agree with Reagan that there's going to probably, not trying to speak into this, there's probably going to be something that goes wrong. But overall, I think it's a pretty good idea. I think it's going to work out for them.
Eric, again, we don't want to speculate again, but, from what we've kind of heard right now, at least on here and perhaps on social media, is, you're a little skeptical about this format again. There's so much, mumbo jumbo again. Win percentage is better than the overall record. Obviously, top 8 teams get in regardless of conference, plus the play-in games as well, along with the fact that the top 2 teams get a 2-round bye to the 3rd round of the bracket to the semifinals automatically. So there's a lot of weight if you finish 1 or 2 in the league this year, which last year would have been New York and Minnesota under the new format would have been the Liberty and Lynx as 1 and 2, waiting for those other teams to play out their other series. So obviously, Eric, there's a lot to kind of digest here, but what are your thoughts, though, about the new format for the postseason?
Well, there are parts of it I like and parts of it I don't like. I love getting rid of the conferences because, well, here's why. Because last year, like you brought this up before, I know we have a lot of Sparks fans here, and I'm sorry if this insults you or offends you or whatever, but the Sparks would not have made the playoffs under this format, and I think people would argue that they didn't really deserve to make the playoffs because the West was top heavy, all right? Because you had the Storm and the Stars who were not good at all, whereas the Eastern Conference was more competitive, balanced. So I think in that respect, I think you'll get just with the cross-conference play in consideration here, you'll get 8 best teams regardless of conference. I really like that. I really think it opens up the opportunity for more competitive basketball in both the regular season and the postseason. But I do not like the single elimination at all. I think I know it'll make things more exciting, but it's too much like the NCAA tournament to me. I think the 3-game series were too short as it was. Now making them just series of 1, I'm not sure if I like that. I don't think that you can't really determine who the better team is just by 1 game. And then the fact that the 2 best teams get a 2-round bye, that, in my opinion, is giving them even more of an advantage because they're going to have so much rest. I'm not sure if I like that either. So we'll just have to see how it works.
So again, folks, a lot to digest in our opening block of the program tonight. Again, folks, again, once more, again, WNBA realigns and fixes the schedule format again, a new balanced schedule again, 34 games amongst both conferences, and also issued the playoff format is also brand new. Again, based on win percentage, not overall records, but again, win percentage, of course, will figure out the top 8 teams regardless of conference, for the postseason party, which will also include the 1 and 2 teams getting a 2-round bye to the semifinals of the league. And again, you can find out more about those rule changes as well on WNBA.com. With that, though, guys, there is some important news to pass along as we do open up Free Agency Central for the night again. The first day for teams to offer and sign players to contracts as well for the season began with a bang this morning on the West Coast with the New York Liberty signing both Carolyn Swords and also luring away Shavonte Zellos from the Indiana Fever to a contract as well on a multi-year term. The press release courtesy of WNBA.com that was broken this morning. Reagan, start with you now. Sadly, all of us here took an L for saying Zellos would go back to Indiana. So we'll start off with Zellos first going, because I think, though, that probably was the one that kind of, more so everyone but Eric, as he's shaking his head in displeasure at me right now for saying that. So obviously, regardless, though, if you were, on one side or not about her leaving Indiana, you were still surprised that she would leave a team that went to the league final last year for, a team in New York that really did a 180 and got back on track after a couple bad years stuck in the mud, though. So, Reagan, hearing the news, though, about Zellos going to New York, initial reaction and thoughts?
Well, let me just tell you, I was in class when I got on Twitter and found out the news, and I was trying not to flip out. I was not expecting it, but after talking it over with Eric, I sort of see why it makes sense.
Yeah, so of course it does make sense. So, Shorty, you can now pull yourself on mute, because I know that we were able to get everyone else's take in without some minor blunder going on. I don't know if I can unmute you, perhaps, or you have to unmute yourself, Shorty. But, again, Zellos, again, sort of, the first big name off the wish list of any general manager that wanted to get her over the offseason. So she goes to New York now to be with the Liberty. So, of course, Shorty, what are your thoughts about seeing the first big fish reeled in out of the WNBA ocean for the offseason?
Okay, first of all, am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Okay, good. Yeah, it was most definitely a big surprise for me. I did not expect Zellos to actually leave Indiana. As it was brought up before, that championship run just last year, with the Indiana Fever, you would think that she, would want to stay and possibly want to contend again with that same roster. But I guess in her mind, she may have wanted a change of scenery. So that's what led her to New York. And also, after reading the press release from the Fever GM, it now makes sense, because pretty much what happened was a whole salary cap situation for the Fever. As it stands now, they have a very big, team cap, and they could not afford her between her and Shanice Johnson, who was also due for a raise, this year. So they pretty much bidded for Zellos, but they got outbidded because, like I said, team cap was high for the Fever. They could not afford her, so they had to let her walk. But it was definitely a big surprise for all of us, because we did not expect that at all.
Crystal, I seeing some of the stuff again, and again, hearing Zellos go, though, really was kind of, what I think really much kind of shocked, I'd say, pretty much everyone, probably most of the fans on social media seeing Zellos go, though. And like I said, leaving a team that went to the finals last year to a team that really improved over a pretty, almost magical offseason with a couple of strokes of, a pen to get a couple players in the draft lured away from other teams or free agents or whatnot. So your thoughts about Zellos going to New York for the 2016 season?
You know what, Reagan, at first, I kind of was, shocked, but then think about it, I'm not. I wasn't expecting it, but having time to actually sit and think about it after it happened, I can see why she left. And again, like Shorty said, it was a cap reason. But Shavonte Zellos has been dealing with some injuries over the past couple of years and hasn't really been playing. Well, not over the past couple of years, but last year, really. And she was dealing with the national team, not the U.S. national team, but I believe it is, correct me if I'm wrong, Turkish or Croatian. I knew it was one. Thank you, Shorty. I knew it was one of those. So she's been dealing with the Croatian national team, and she wasn't really playing, full season last year. So I think she just wanted a fresh start. And New York might be the good, a best place for her for the fresh start. But with New York signing Zealous, may not be back, unfortunately, for a lot of New York fans. But I think Zealous going to New York was probably a really good place for her. I think she's going to have a career um, revival, if you will. And I mean, thinking about it, I'm not really that all surprised anymore.
Yeah, I think it kind of took a bit, though, for everyone to kind of get over the initial shock, I guess. And Eric, you were kind of, pretty much bad-mouthing me silently with that with the head shaking, because I thought that everyone here agreed that Zealous was going to stay in Indiana. But obviously, Eric, of course, okay, so perhaps a change of scenery, though. But again, 9 times out of 10, when you see a team or a person leave a team that had either won a championship or had been on a good playoff run, though, you kind of are like, why would you do that? But obviously, either money issues was a problem. Perhaps so, but Eric, your thoughts about the deal today, though, for Zealous going to New York?
No, I wasn't surprised at all, and here's why. It's because Shanice Johnson's coming off a most improved player caliber season, and she was a restricted free agent. So what happened was the Fever, they wanted to lock her up immediately before any team could throw an offer sheet at her. And, yeah, there was not enough money for both her and Zealous on the same team. Zealous knew it. She was an unrestricted free agent, so she probably had in her mind, if they lock up Shanice, then I'm out, because for one, she was taking her minutes. If you look at Zealous's minutes, they've gone down each season for several seasons. She wasn't very effective last year. I mean, there's no two ways about that. And I think going to New York, she's going to have more of a role. She's going to have a bigger role. She's going to be able to play her game more, and hopefully have a bounce back season. Hopefully for her. And and she also probably got more money from the Liberty because their hands are kind of tied now with Epiphany Prince with her torn ACL. Zealous is going to have a much bigger role on that team than she would have on the Fever this season. So I think that's why she bolted as soon as she did.
Is he frozen?
I think Kellen froze now.
Wow.
Oh, that's awkward.
Power outage, guys.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
How about we start singing Destiny's Child?
No.
No, you don't want. No, nobody wants to hear that.
I have a question. So with the playoff, with the playoffs the way they are, does this mean that 2 Eastern teams could compete for the championship?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which is weird. Yeah.
It's very weird.
Okay,
Same.
so
Well, go ahead.
we'll just wait for Callan to get back in the swing of things here. If that's possible.
All right, but I guess we can continue on with.
Yeah, let's just continue on.
Trying to make the best of things since he's not here. Okay, quickly we'll recollect ourselves. We'll move on to Carolyn Swartz. So quickly, give your thoughts on the re-signing of Carolyn Swartz back to New York Liberty. Reagan.
Oh,
Reagan,
We'll
go.
keep the format.
I mean, I think we all expected it. I think it makes sense. I wasn't really surprised by that. I guess it's because I saw the Zealous trade first. I mean, Zealous pick up first. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, most definitely. And Crystal?
I mean, pretty much the same thing. I think I called it the last show. I expected them to re-sign Carolyn Sword. She was pretty big for them on their bench. I mean, that bench is half the reason why they had such a great playoff run that they had last year. And with the new format, who knows? And them signing Zealous, that may be what they need to get to the mountaintop.
Yeah, most definitely. And next, Eric?
Yeah, that wasn't a surprise at all either. I don't think for anybody because as part of the Liberty's identity, big physical, strong rebounding team. She just embodies that in every single way. She's probably pretty cheap to keep because she said she's coming off multiple knee injuries. I think last year she was more effective than really anybody predicted. So I don't know if she's due for a regression or not. But Big C, we love her here in Chicago, so we wish her nothing but the best. And yeah, she's definitely a good fit for that team.
Yes, most definitely. I definitely agree with the resigning of Carolyn Swartz. I mean, she definitely was a big part of what they did in New York and what they're doing right now. She, of course, one of the big reasons why New York is, they was not only the best team in the Eastern Conference, but also the number one rebounding team in the WNBA. So her resigning and bringing her back for a trader bill made definitely a lot of sense. All right, so next on the list is Shanice Johnson and Reagan. So what are your thoughts on them re-signing Johnson, as we just talked about? Johnson and Zealous, as we both know, as we all know, was due for a raise, and the Fever could not retain both, so they decided to choose Johnson over Zealous. So what are your thoughts on the Fever bringing back Shanice Johnson into the fold?
I think, well, like I said, I talked to Eric about it earlier, and he put it in a little perspective to the point where it made sense. I think that she's a better fit for Indiana. I think that they trust her a little bit more than they trusted Zealous, and overall, I think they made the right decision.
Yeah,
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I need to quickly apologize, folks. We experienced a pretty quick power outage in my house right now here in San Diego. As you guys may know, we've been battered with a couple of days of really strong winds. We've had trees falling down across San Diego. We've even had some people sadly killed by these trees falling. So we apologize greatly for the intrusion of the power going out here. Sorry that happened, but hey, we've had worse things happen here on the network as well. So I believe we were in the middle of talking about Carolyn Swords going to New York following the power outage briefly, and we're glad to be back online and back and resuming here, folks, here on WNBA 365. So I'll take the L for that one, but hey, you really can't control Mother Nature, though, folks, so I do apologize. We will get back and go forward. So obviously, Reagan, with the Liberty getting Zellos today earlier than, of course, them re-signing Carolyn Swords, I said that she would probably go back, though, because other than Tina Charles, who's going to be your backup post or your backup center in some cases? And Swords, coming off a year where she kind of took the year off because of some knee problems after being in Chicago for the previous season. Again, probably not a big move or big deal, but of course it is a big deal with the first day of free agency, though. But your thoughts, though, and why about Swords going back to New York?
Quickly, let me interject. We just discussed Carolyn Swords while you were out, so we have now moved on to Shanice Johnson.
Well, thank you guys for carrying the load. And see, this is why, folks, that we have gone this route with everyone else but what we've had in the past. This is why we're here, so they can help out when the captain of the team is gone. So, okay, let's see what happens. So, guys, with Shanice Johnson going back to New York, to Indiana, I should say. Of course, coming off the 2015 Most Improved Player of the Year award and recognition, a vote that took forever for the league to announce going forward as well. Breaking, starting with you, I guess. Where do you stand on this? I guess as I try to get my equilibrium back on track here.
It's actually Shorty's turn.
Oh yeah, I forgot. She had just gave her opinion on Shanice Johnson returning. So yeah, so it's oh goodness, we are one of a kind. Okay, my thoughts on Shanice Johnson is, like I said, after I read that statement from the GM of the Indiana Fever, of course, retaining Shanice Johnson made sense. She had one hell of a year. She was a Most Improved Player candidate, and I actually thought she would have won that award, but she lost it to Kelsey Bone eventually. But yes, I mean, she definitely had a great playoff run. She was so dominant in the finals. I mean, it was incredible to see her go. Yeah, it was incredible to see her go because when she entered the draft, in my opinion, I thought even though she went number 2 in the 2012 draft, she was still kind of an afterthought when she was in San Antonio. But then when she transitioned to Indiana Fever, she just blossomed. It seemed like the Fever all the players that people give second thoughts about, and transform them into great players. They did it with Marissa Coleman, and then they have done the same thing with Shanice Johnson. So bringing her back after an incredible season 2015 made sense for the Fever.
And Crystal, as we've already brought up here before the power outage, and while I've tried to get myself back in order here again, is change of scenery for some players is always a good stepping stone to kind of get back on track after either injuries or just after a bad season with their past ball club. So thoughts though about Indiana retaining Johnson in your mind?
I too, for one, thought that was a great pickup for them. I, like Shorty, do think that she possibly should have been the most improved player. I mean, she came from San Antonio and just started dominating in Indiana. And Shorty's correct. I mean, everybody who goes to Indy just has a career resurgence. So maybe April Sykes is next. Indiana, sign April Sykes. Get April Sykes on the team 2016. We're going to have that petition. And I love I also not only like Shanice Johnson's game, but that afro though, like that's afro goals. I gotta see if I can give me one of them like that. Like Shanice Johnson, I do think she was a great pickup. She picked it up offensively for them. There was a lot of times where Shanice Johnson was their offense in a lot of games when Brianna January or Tamika Catchings couldn't quite find the basket. And I mean, I think that was a great pickup. Indiana did a great job retaining her because if they weren't, someone else would have, and they would have definitely been upset that they didn't get her back and get a chance to grab her before anyone else did.
All right, I want to give a quick shout to Corey, Space Junkie, who's in our live our live chat bar tonight, who's saying that you could always be the new WNBA 365 host to Eric. Corey, that's why we brought these 4 other people on, as if I'm out for a night, or in this case, my power goes out, they can kind of carry the load. So I guess we'll let Eric host the rest of the show tonight. But Eric, though, your thoughts though about Shanice Johnson staying in Indiana?
They had to do it because she was their best offensive player last year. She's only 25 years old, and I love Shanice Johnson's game. She's just all around a great offensive player, and she's still improving. Once again, I agree with you guys that she should have been the most improved player. I think I've said that on this program a million times already. But, because she was restricted, they had to throw the money at her before somebody else did. It was a no-brainer, and she was their best offensive player last year. And people are used to Tamika Catchings being there, but you got to start preparing for life after Tamika Catchings. And Shanice Johnson, she's going to be one of the best shooting guards in the league in the near future if she isn't already. So, it only makes sense.
It makes sense indeed, and maybe we'll have Eric host a show sometime this week and see how it goes. But for right now, But for right now, the guy in charge has to get back on track. And again, folks, I do apologize, but you can't really control things that are not in your control right now. And of course, the power going out is kind of partially to blame on Mother Nature for, of course, the power going out with what we've been going through in Southern California with the storms and the El Nino weather going across the board as well. And that's why we brought these other 4 people on, though, as well, as if something like this happens, they can carry the load for me while I, get either problems fixed or whatever it may be. Guys, there was also a bit of a press release given out, too, by the WNBA about the 20 dates to circle on your summer calendar for the 20th season, beginning, of course, guys, on opening day of May 14th of this year, which will include a 5-game slate featuring, of course, the marquee matchup between a rematch between the Lynx and Mercury to cap off the 2016 season, which of course will be ring night for the Lynx, their 3rd championship ring in the past couple seasons, along with the return of Diana Taurasi to the Phoenix Mercury. Reagan, overlooking the 5 games on that schedule, of course the Mercury and Lynx probably overshadow the 5 games on May 14th. But I think, though, that pretty much all of you said Phoenix, Minnesota for your opening day game. You guys got it. So what are your thoughts, though, about getting your wish?
It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to. And I feel, like I said, it's a lose-lose for me. But I feel like it's going to be a great game. And I just can't wait to see them beat up on one another.
It's going to be a war. It's going to be another war there. So, Shorty, again, Phoenix, Minnesota, of course, obviously, but 2 teams that have been the queens of the Western Conference the past couple of years, with both teams trading championship victories across 2013, and of course Phoenix in 2014, Minnesota back in top 2015. So of course some bragging rights about who can win the next championship probably for that game. But of course, big night, of course, for the fans in Minneapolis. Of course, the third WNBA title banner to go up into the rafters for the 2015 season. So Shorty, your thoughts on why though about getting your wish for Phoenix, Minnesota?
Hey, because it makes sense. It makes sense, and I called it. I was the first person to call it the last show. But like I said, the whole theatrics. It's not even just the game itself, but this theatrics surrounding it is going to be insane. What happened with that whole ref ordeal? People are still going to be talking about that. So it most definitely makes sense to have that matchup on schedule. And of course, like Reagan said, it would be great to see Phoenix and Minnesota beat up on each other instead of Los Angeles. So yeah, give us a break.
Give us a break. I would agree. So Crystal, what would you say though about Phoenix, Minnesota round game 1? What do you think?
I mean, I think this is going to be a very physical game, not only because of, the theatrics that happen in the playoffs, but because you have two physical teams. Minnesota is known to be really physical. We don't even have to say anything about Phoenix. Like Reagan and Shorty said, I mean, they beat up on us every year. I still can't get that Diana Taurasi crossover on Chrissy Tolliver out my head. That gives me nightmares. When she put Chrissy Tolliver in the splits, I don't know if y'all saw that. But if y'all saw that, that was crucial. But I respect Phoenix. I respect Minnesota too, even though I come on here and say I don't want to see them win again. But I do hope Phoenix ruins Minnesota's ring ceremony. That would be awesome for me to watch because I would go to sleep happy that day. But it's going to be a great game. I mean, I can't wait to see that game. It's probably going to be one of the best games on TV that day. I just can't wait to see what's going to happen.
Eric, what do you think? Opening night, of course, Minnesota Phoenix on the primetime stage on ESPN2. Your thoughts?
Well, I would say that I don't care because they're in the Western Conference, but because this is the playoff, because of the new playoff system, it doesn't really matter because they're all going for the same spot anyway. So, yeah, I mean, the league had to do it. They're the two best teams in the league now. It's been a rivalry for a while. Guys, I really don't think the referee theatrics would have changed the outcome of that series if it didn't happen, because I think Minnesota is clearly the better team anyway. But yeah, it's just all the storylines are coming together. Taurasi's back, Benny Taylor's back, Lynx defending their title, Fowles versus Griner, blah blah blah. Great game to have on national TV.
And I'll quickly go to Crystal for the next night. All right, Crystal, you got it again. Storm and Sparks. What do you got to say for yourself?
Oh my God, no. I mean, it's a little redundant now, but I guess it'll be a good game. With Breanna Stewart coming in. The only surprise that would be in that game is if Breanna Stewart doesn't go to Seattle, which we all think and feel she will, but. Hopefully LA can pull it off this time. Last year was a horrible loss for LA. But it's a new year, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully this will be the last time they play each other at the beginning of the game. I'm getting tired of seeing it. I know we're all getting tired of seeing it. But I mean, I think it's going to be a good game nonetheless.
Crystal, I'll just say this real quick. Only 4 of the 5 people in here care about seeing Seattle play LA again because, Eric, you got a pretty good game on a pretty big day for myself when this guy turns 22. But you've got Chicago, Minnesota, matchup of the previous 2 seasons' MVPs going on between the Lynx and Sky. So, Eric, what do you think, though, man, about the clash of MVPs coming up on May 18th?
I'm pumped already. I can't wait. Counting down the days. Well, I mean, like it's true. LA does play Seattle like every opening night, but again, like it's really hard for me to care about that because I think LA has been the better team for a while now. Seattle's just it's an awful matchup for them. Although they are going to have Breanna Stewart, 99.9% chance, so maybe that'll change something. I don't know. It'll be her first game. That's something, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is. But again, as well, so again, a couple of good games across the start of May going on. And of course, guys, there is also a pretty big game as well on May 21st, considering so this will be the first game for another new franchise. Again, the same franchise that was in Detroit to Tulsa. The Dallas Wings will make their home debut on May 21st against now their new interstate rivals, the San Antonio Stars, at their brand new home on the College Park Center on the campus of University of Texas at Arlington. Tip-off of that game at 7:30 Central Time. So, Reagan, obviously, there's going to be hype around this game. Of course, it is the first game of a, you can say a new WNBA franchise, but of course, pretty much the third time of a relocated Detroit Shock team that went from Detroit to Tulsa, now to Dallas. New home, brand new stuff for them. I guess, is there any thoughts again about seeing, kind of a old/new team kicking off a brand new season at all, or your thoughts though about seeing this though, because I know we've seen it a lot though in the WNBA with teams that have relocated to different cities though. So I guess your thoughts though and why.
I called it 3 years ago when they drafted Skylar Diggins. I said that Tulsa was going to be a major contender. They may not be that major, but they stepped their game up. Anyways, that's not the point here. I think I don't really know what to say about this because I'm a little conflicted. I feel for the fans of Tulsa, but at the same time, I think they did what they needed to do. Coming from a sports business major, I completely understand the move. It's all about money. So, hopefully they get what they're looking for. Hopefully they can find a new home and keep it there for the next 20 years. But if not, we'll just keep moving until we find the right spot.
Shorty, of course, like I said, this is an old/new franchise, going from Detroit and the glory years with the, with the Shock in Detroit, the 3 titles there from 03 and 06 and 08. Then, of course, they go to Tulsa, and have a really rough time there, of course, going 3-31 in their first season in Tulsa. Getting back in the playoff mix last season, and, of course, now the move to Dallas, Fort Worth area, now to Arlington to play their games in Cedar Park, Texas. Now, and of course, it's a new era. You can kind of say a new chapter in the book for the Shock, but I guess for the Shock now the Wings. But your thoughts though about them kicking off their first home game against their in-state rivals in San Antonio?
I definitely think it'll be one interesting matchup. To finally have a team, in the state of Texas. So then you have like I said, an in-state rival. And I definitely think, it'll be interesting. And basically, yeah, like Reagan said, this is a team that was on the verge, becoming a playoff contender, and they finally got in last year. And I definitely think they will get in this year. Again, they may not be championship contenders, but playoff contenders, they will be. They're getting in this year. Bet on it. But yeah, definitely think it'll be, a great matchup, to finally see the new look Dallas Wings. I was about to say something else, but I didn't want to be petty. So, like I said, opening day matchup for them, it'll definitely be great.
Don't be laughing, Thomas. I'm looking right at you on my viewfinder because you're up next here. And Crystal, read my lips. It's the Dallas Wings, okay? We're not thinking about diamond rings on my fingers here for winning 2 championships in 06, 07, and 2013. But of course, just like we said, though, this old/new again, like I even brought up to, a new chapter to add to the the dusty old book of the Detroit/Tulsa Shock, and of course, a new chapter and era for this club. Fresh start, new faces in place, of course. Now that you'll have Diggins back hopefully for the full season after the ACL tear. So your thoughts about seeing the Wings as home opener versus San Antonio, and again, probably our first true in-state rivalry in the WNBA in quite a few years.
All I can say is all sookie, all shucky duck, and all of the things that I've been saying. I think it's awesome. I mean, you'll probably be able to see. I mean, it's not going to be like the Comets, but this is going to be pretty much like a San Antonio, Houston Comets type of rivalry. Hopefully, I mean, nothing can compare to the such a franchise like the Comets, and I'm not saying that that's how they'll be, but I think it would be cool to see 2 in-state teams really go after it, because I already know those matchups are going to be intense. They're going to be insane. They're going to be pretty amazing to watch, and with Skylar coming back healthy, I think they could do some damage. I mean, I'm actually excited to see if they can make the playoffs with this new format. Last year, I had them actually in the playoffs before last year too, because you could just see the growth of the team. Like, their growth as a team is just you could tell that they really wanted it. They just were missing a piece. So If they could get that piece this year or through free agency or whatever, I think they'll really be a scary team in the West.
Eric, I'm sure you probably heard us talk about, the problems that Tulsa face, not just the problems on the court with the team struggling from year to year up until last season. Of course, there was problems with players getting staph infections at the BOK Center, not a very suitable venue. Plus, constantly, also voicing out about the, pretty much, a very bad broadcast watching those games on WNBA Live Access from their Cox affiliate in the Tulsa area. But now, again, a fresh chapter, a fresh start at a brand new facility with probably, hopefully, a better TV deal this year or a better live access deal going forward. So, of course, there is some hype around this game. But Eric, where are you setting your standards though for the Dallas Wings' home opener?
Well, I get what you guys are saying about the same state rivalry with the Stars, but there's one thing you're missing, and that's not the Tulsa Shock, the Dallas Wings. That's not the last time that's going to happen. Trust me. The Dallas Wings are an extremely talented young team, and the Stars are not so much. So that's going to be pretty one-sided, I think, for a little while. It's going to be cool seeing two teams play each other. Two teams from the same state play each other. I agree with that. But I think the bigger story for the Dallas Wings is just their first season in Dallas in general. Just, Skylar coming back from the ACL tear, their continued improvement. Will Liz Kimbe show up? Probably not, but it's something people talk about every year. Odyssey Sims, she had a pretty bad knee injury of her own, so hopefully her and Skylar, playing a full season together finally. It's just going to be a really interesting season for them, and I do think they'll make the playoffs, maybe as a fourth or fifth seed, probably. That's just a guess, but I think that's where they'll end up.
Yeah, and gosh, and how this new in-state rivalry kind of brings back good old memories of LA Sacramento back in the heyday. Guys, a couple more games to look across for May to circle on the calendar. Of course, the first of a couple meetings between both Shanae and Nneka Ogwumike, which of course has been a very big talking point since Shanae got drafted into the WNBA by Connecticut back in 2014, and obviously. Reagan, starting with you, of course, the first set of siblings to be drafted in pro sports since both Eli and Peyton Manning were drafted in the NFL, both number one overall as well. What does having a set of sisters in the WNBA kind of do, though, to kind of, I guess, raise popularity amongst casual fans in your mind, though, that you have a set of sisters playing against each other? We see it all the time as well with Serena and Venus Williams on the tennis court, though. What does it mean, though, in a sport like basketball in your mind, though?
It brings good competition to the league. I don't know about y'all, but I am very competitive with my siblings. I do not want them to win in anything. So seeing them battle it out on the court, it's amazing. It really is.
Tanisha, what do you think? There was obviously a lot of hype. Shanae and Nneka were doing a lot of radio appearances in the Unkinsville, Hartford area in Connecticut, and even as well in Los Angeles. From photo shoots and magazine interviews, so that they made a really big deal about this. So seeing this again come to fruition again on May 26th in Unkinsville, again, what does it say to you, though, seeing a set of sisters in a team sport league like this?
It's definitely a great competition for them both, and of course they were not necessarily the first sisters in the league. You had the Paris sisters a while back, but they, were bigger on the national level just because, as stated, they were the two number ones, Nneka from 2012, Shanae from 2014. But it's always good seeing the Ogwumike sisters compete, because when they meet up, they know for each other, they're going to give each other their best. So, when big sister goes up against little sister, Nneka always, well, I wouldn't say always own her, but she pretty much know the tricks and trades of how to get around Shanae. So she give her the up and unders and things like that. So it's always fun to see them compete. Sadly, we didn't get to see that much this past season because season-ending injury to Shanae, but hopefully she'll be back in the fold this season, and we'll see more sister battle, them brawling.
Yeah, and that'll bring up some discussion at Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner, perhaps when they're all back in probably in Houston, in the Houston area for Christmas and Thanksgiving this upcoming year. But Crystal, even when I see when I see Serena and Venus Williams play on the tennis court, even though Serena has been really superior over Venus, it's still fun though to watch that that you're playing against your own flesh and blood, and and someone that shares your last name, of course. It's always, to me, it's always special to see them play against each other, and even whenever Peyton and Eli Manning play against each other, or even this year when you had Seth and Stephen Curry from Golden State and Sacramento play each other in the NBA this year. Always special to see that happen, of course. So, and as Reagan said too, the competition that you had growing up with your brother or sister or your siblings in general in the driveway, in the backyard playing sports is always fun. But then when you get to see it on such a big stage and on the pro level is always special. So your thoughts about seeing Shanae and Nneka play each other again for 3 times this season.
Well, first, Shorty, you forgot another pair of sisters, Coco and Kelly Miller. How could you forget the Miller twins?
Yes.
And I have to agree with both Reagan and Shorty. Like, I have an older brother, as many of you know, and when me and him play, I don't care if we're playing freeze tag. I'm going to beat you. We could be having a competition of who's going to tie their shoe faster. Like, you're not going to beat me. We're not going to just have no competition. So I think watching them play and how competitive they are because they're family, it's going to be interesting. It's just a cool dynamic to see what happens when 2 sisters play, and I think we're going to be watching a lot of good basketball of them. And like Shirley said, unfortunately, Shanae was injured, so we didn't get to see a good battle. But I think we're going to see some good battles between them.
Yeah, battles included in Erica Guess. Seeing all these these siblings play against each other is always something special to see. And of course, on this stage as well, for a league that we know goes through a lot every day, is always a good positive talking point. So your thoughts and why about seeing this?
Well, I'm an only child, so unfortunately I cannot comment on the brotherly or sisterly competition. And it's funny because every time someone asks Shanae or Nneka about, how was it growing up? Did you play against each other? They will deny everything. Like, they'll say, oh no, we're the perfect sisters. We never tried to compete against each other, never even in practice, yada yada yada. So I think it's pretty funny because you ask about it and they want nothing to do with it. But when the second they step on the court, they're going to give it their all. That's just how they play, and especially how they both contribute to causes beyond basketball. They're great people. They're great ambassadors for the sport, ambassadors for the league, and that just makes the sisterhood just that much more special because it's more than a game for them. They take it very seriously. They want to use their platform in a way that inspires young people and just gets everything on the right track. And that's what really makes me proud as a WNBA fan to see them play against each other.
Yeah, of course, folks. Again, we'll have more about the important dates to kind of circle on the calendar, but again, we'll have more about those tomorrow night. With that, though, ladies and gentlemen, again, we had a lot of good stuff tonight on the program. Again, we kind of broke down all the schedule and format changes again. Once want to reiterate, but again, a 34-game balanced schedule featuring every team playing every team in the league 3 times at least, depending on conference, and of course the WNBA playoffs as well will also be a brand new 8-team format regardless of conference based on overall win percentage as well, finishing up with the top 2 teams getting a 2-round bye to the 3rd round of the bracket, again with the first 2 rounds being single elimination games following as well with reseeding as well. And of course the bigger news of the day, again, Shavante Zellos, Carolyn Swords signed by New York today along with Kaiser and Shanice Johnson retained by the Indiana Fever. With that, though, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you a lot for kind of staying with us here after the power outage happened here, but also thanks to the rest of the team for kind of assisting during the time I was gone to kind of refix my power here. But again, as we say, we've had some pretty powerful rain and winds down in Southern California, and as you may imagine, of course, the power going out as well was one thing. But again, we will try to do better the next time. For Eric in Elmhurst, Illinois, and for the other 2 SoCal folks, with Crystal and Shorty up in Los Angeles, and Reagan Patrick joining us as well tonight. Cal McClurg and San Diego signing off. We'll be back here for tomorrow night, folks, and hopefully we'll have more good news to tell you on the free agency front. See you tomorrow, folks, and good night. Bye-bye.